colonialism. That was what it's all about, fighting colonialism. Now we're talking about how to seize globalism. We were the third world in 1945. Now we're the emerging economy. In 1945, my dad, my grandfather, wanted Indonesia to be sejajar dengan bangsa lain. Now, our generation says, no, saya tidak mau berdiri sejajar dengan bangsa lain. We want Indonesia to be at the forefront of international order. Just being sejajar is not enough anymore. And third, the third question, global repositioning of Indonesia. Now, what do I mean by this? Geopolitically, physically, geographically, demographically, we're quite large and impressive. Let's look at the map of Indonesia, right? We are right in the middle of a very large and important region, and we're quite imposing geographically and geopolitically. But if you look at where Indonesia is, not in the world map, but in the global map, you see a different picture. Let's look at where Indonesia is in the global map. GDP, even though we're number 4 in the world, we're number 17 in world ranking. FDI, we're number 36, which is moving up, but we're still number 36. Exports, we're number 27 in the world. Investment, we're number 14 in the world. We're the 8th energy producer in the world. Internet penetration is 12.3%, which is quite high, but not as good as it needs to be. Global competitiveness, we're number 35. Ease of doing business, 121, right? Now, in the 21st century, we need to make sure that Indonesia is not just prominent geopolitically in the world map, but also prominent in the global map and well-positioned in that new world order. So these are the 3 big questions that we need to ask about Indonesia and the future. You know, I'll tell you what, Indonesia has many projections. You know, let's look at the projections. There's the emerging 7, which is the BRICS plus 3 more, which is Indonesia, Turkey, and South Africa. There's the next 11. Again, Indonesia is included in it. There's CHIVET, Colombia, Indonesia, Vietnam, Egypt, Turkey, and South Africa. There's MIST. There's 3G, the global growth generators. Zubair's going to talk about it. And Indonesia is in every one of these positive and great future projections. Feels good, right? Don't feel so good as yet. Why? It's not going to be a linear process from here to there. It's not going to be a straight line. The future of where we can be is not preordained. These projections are talking about what Indonesia can be in the next 30, 40 years, not where Indonesia is, where Indonesia can be. And history has given us a lot of examples where countries that seeming was disrupted. So do not be complacent about these projections. There's one thing, if we want to get there, one thing that we need to do. We need to craft and develop what I would call ideologi keunggulan. All right? Now, I'm sorry for my non-Indonesian friends. I don't have a translation for that. Sorry, David. We tried, but there's no translation. You can ask for the person next to you. But what do I mean by this? For the last 60 years, Indonesians have been seized with ideologi persatuan. You know, since our independence, all our ideology is about unity. Pancasila, UUD 45, Bhinneka Tunggal Ika, Wawasan Nusantara, and so on and so on. And these are extremely important ideologies. Extremely important. And they will continue to be relevant for generations to come. But not enough. Ideologi persatuan aja is not enough. Ideology of unity is only half of the picture. We need to couple that with ideologi keunggulan. That's how we become the top 10 economies of the world. That's how we become one of the most competitive nations in Asia Pacific. What is ideologi keunggulan? It's up to you to define. But these are things like meritocracy, entrepreneurship, idealism, innovation, internationalism, volunteerism, healthy nationalism, cooperation, adaptability, and so on, and so on. You know, Peter Drucker once said, the best way to predict the future is to create it. The best way to predict the future is to create it. And this is why I've always been a student of history, but as a government official, I'm more involved in futurology, because futurology compels us to be forward-looking, to be rationalized, to be rational, to strategize, to adapt, and to plan. And futurology compels us to think for the long term, because I feel a lot of us now are stuck with short-term mindset, and compels us to have a global view and a strategic view. You know, when my father and grandfather was in the midst of our nation's birth, the dream of a nation of revolutionaries, which is very romantic, you know, and it's true. We became a nation of revolutionaries that swept the 20th century. But in the 21st century, it's going to be a different concept. It's no longer going to be a nation of revolutionaries. Indonesia is going to be a nation of innovators, entrepreneurs, builders, explorers, competitors, and champions. Thank you.
Visualization is right at the heart of my own work too. I teach global health. And I know having the data is not enough. I have to show it in ways people both enjoy and understand. Now, I'm going to try something I've never done before. Animating the data in real space, with a bit of technical assistance from the crew.
So, here we go. First, an axis for health. Life expectancy, from 25 years to 75 years. And down here, an axis for wealth, income per person, $400, $4,000, and $40,000. So down here is poor and sick, and up here is rich and healthy. Now, I'm going to show you the world 200 years ago, in 1810. Here come all the countries. Europe brown, Asia red, Middle East green, Africa south of Sahara blue, and the Americas yellow. And the size of the country bubbles show the size of the population. And in 1810, it was pretty crowded down there, wasn't it? All countries were sick and poor. Life expectancy were below 40 in all countries. And only UK and the Netherlands were slightly better off, but not much. And now, why start the world? The Industrial Revolution makes countries in Europe and elsewhere move away from the rest. But the colonized countries in Asia and Africa, they are stuck down there. And eventually, the Western countries get healthier and healthier. And now we slow down to show the impact of the First World War and the Spanish flu epidemic. What a catastrophe! And now I speed up through the 1920s and the 1930s. And in spite of the Great Depression, Western countries forge on towards greater wealth and health. Japan and some others try to follow, but most countries stay down here. Now, after the tragedies of the Second World War,